I thought this movie was going to be for little kids, like one of the Shazam movies or Spy Kids. I mean, the trailers really made it look that way. Instead, DC's new Blue Beetle movie has some edge to it. Huzzah! Good news is it's more in line with Spider-Verse and the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. In fact, when this movie started, I had the exact same reaction as I did when the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie started. But that leads me to the bad news, and that's that those movies just came out. These movies are too close together. So yeah, some people might just be too superheroed out to really enjoy Blue Beetle at this time. But for those of you who enjoy the genre, the superhero genre, or the comic book genre, etc., this is a surprisingly good entry. Now, I tweeted that, and some of you were like, what do you mean surprising, Grace? Well, I say surprising because not only did the trailers make this seem again like a movie for little kids, but for me specifically, I have never really gotten Blue Beetle. From the comics to the animation to the video games. I know he has his fans, not a legion of fans, but they're out there. But I've never been one of them. But now I kind of am starting to see the appeal, although I do prefer this Jaime out of his suit than in the suit. But I'm kind of coming around. There are some cool moments in the suit for sure. This is the non-spoiler review. I'll go into some of my quibbles in the spoiler review. Now, what has always been my issue with Blue Beetle? Well, the same things that kind of still bother me here, to be honest with you. Xolo Mariduena is just so charismatic, though. And the movie is so well made. But anyway, there's no clear rules to his powers. He seems to be able to do anything that he or the writers can think of. And I feel that's cheating. I like there to be a set of rules. Not only does it, I think, ground it more in reality, but it's fun. It's more fun to play along as a fan. You're like, what would I do if I had the Blue Beetle suit on? And I mean, I still now, even though I like the movie, I'm like, I'm not putting that thing on. Some of you also asked me about the body horror. There's like one shot. There's no body horror in this movie. All right, so anyway, I also think pulling off a giant bug, the look of a giant bug, is tough. That's not a great look. Even still, I'm like, I don't know why anybody would want to wear this suit. It's not particularly cool. And then also, as someone with a type A personality, it would bother me not to be in control of my own body. Like a lot of the times in this film, Jaime wins a fight by just telling the suit to take over. And I'm like, what? I mean, you can just get out of that thing. Why do you even need to be in it, quite frankly? Now, because most things in Hollywood are derivative, and there's nothing wrong with that. Hollywood is risk averse. It's very, very rare for something to be totally original in Hollywood. So here, I would say Blue Beetle plays like Iron Man meets Venom meets Stranger Things meets Coco. So let's discuss that. Let's discuss what turns out to be quite a delicious stew. All right, so how is it like Iron Man? Well, I think that's pretty obvious. But something that did surprise me is that Cord Industries plays very much like Stark Industries here, even down to its complicated past with weapons manufacturing. I was like, I've seen some. I don't know spoilers, but they're like little teases of things that I'm like are directly from the journey of Stark Industries. And often the movie tries to make the Blue Beetle suit seem like an alien version of the Iron Man suit, even down to an operating system. They also kind of will show him sometimes in the suit, like suit vision, but it doesn't look as cool as when Iron Man, or now tons of people in the MCU, are wearing an Iron Man style suit. Too many Iron Men. On that note, though, with the operating system, that's where Venom comes in, because this operating system has a mind of its own, which Jaime needs to learn to live with, and they're not, always getting along. And also like Venom, this Blue Beetle feels a lot like a 90s movie, in a really good way. In fact, this one in particular reminds me of The Mask. I really do think that's a good approximation, with not only some of the sillier aspects of it, fun, like really fun, like silly in a fun way, but also our mild-mannered hero stepping out of his comfort zone and getting to meet the girl of his dreams. There was definitely that vibe. And that's where Stranger Things comes in too, not only with the nostalgia aspect, but also a strong genre feel. From the neon lighting, which feels very old school, like old school video games and music videos, to a killer score from Mr. Bobby Krilic. I've never heard of this guy before, so I looked him up, and it turns out, he comes from, he has a music group And some of you might be like, how do you not know who Bobby Krulak is, Grace? Well, I do now. I'm picking up this score too. I have Apple Music. I can pick up whatever I want for no extra charge. But he got into scoring, it turns out, thanks to Atticus Ross, as in Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor. And I think that Bobby Krulak is very much their disciple. He is just as good. In fact, as I said, this movie reminds me a lot of the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies, two 90s inspired films that go way harder than most kids' movies. You're like, whoa! And part of that is the amazing score, and particularly their opening credit sequences, where you're like, this is like really good and really cool. Like, wow. Like, again, I think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has more edge, so I wouldn't say that Blue Beetle would blow my mind if I were a kid, like I said with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but it is cut from the same cloth. It is delightful. It is a cool kids movie. And I think that adults can enjoy both as well. All right, then of course, Coco. This Blue Beetle is as much about Latino American culture in the community as it is about superheroes. In fact, I would say about 20% of the movie is in Spanish with subtitles, a bold choice that I feel really works. The Reyes family has a lot of heart, humor, and fight in them. And it really does, not only do they have a fun time and a loving time depicting the Latino American experience, but they're really honest about the hardships as well, which I thought was also a very bold and effective choice. Puerto Rican director Angel Manuel Soto has worked very hard to make this film feel authentic to the Latino American community. And I think he does that, but at the same time, still making the film feel extremely professional and very much like a superhero movie. A lot of directors cannot do that. A lot of times you'll see a director get lost in the message that they're prioritizing. But here, Soto is able to do it all, which I think does make the film a little bit more unique. Also like Coco, Blue Beetle depicts the more positive relationship that the Latino community often has with death. Although, I thought the movie was a bit too sad in parts. I was like, oh man, why'd you have to go and do that? Although some of you like a good cry, although I'm not one of those people. But I was like, oh man! Again, we'll talk about that in the spoiler review. And of course, a major city representing Latino American culture in the community is Miami. Now, in the comics, Blue Beetle's home of Palmera City is in Texas, but here it's clearly a futuristic Miami. And I have to say, the movie does an excellent job of making Palmera City feel like a real place. I was like, wow, I would like to go to here. It reminded me of Gotham or Metropolis or even Marvel's Madripoor. There are lots of comic book cities, but often they don't really make an impression. They're just generic comic book city. But I thought Palmera City really had a groove. I loved it. I was like, wow. I mean, I would now always not only recognize Palmera City if it was name dropped, but I'd be like, let's go head over there. I would put on the list of DC cities that we should visit, and video games and all kinds of stuff. I liked it that much. Now, speaking of the larger DC universe, while Jaime might be wearing a Gotham Law sweatshirt in one scene, which is very subtle, I was like, what's that say? Does that say Gotham Law? And Batman and Superman might be mentioned in passing. Batman definitely was. And they don't go anywhere beyond the fascist line, and it wasn't that bad. And I'm even a major Batman fan. And if I'm not offended by it, nobody can be offended by it. But, I've heard people say there are Man of Steel references. I didn't see any. I mean, maybe there are, but I totally missed them. Blue Beetle feels very much like its own isolated story with its own history. That's right! Ted Kord's shadow looms large over this film, and we will discuss that also in the spoiler review. I have mixed feelings about it. The film also, and I know like nothing about Ted Kord. I mean, I know who Ted Kord is, but Ted Kord is like a deep cut. The film also has a good amount of action, which I appreciated, and I personally think the CGI is very convincing. Some of you are asking me about that. I thought it looked good. I didn't always love the practical suit, though. I mean, yeah, Xolo Mariduena looks great in it, but okay, I'm going to go into it more in the spoiler review, but let's just say Blue Beetle is bulletproof, and they're like, cool, and I'm like, how is he bulletproof? He's clearly just wearing a rubber suit. That would not be bulletproof, but whatever. But it seems like the whole thing could get kind of Power Rangers-y with the practical suit and the look of a Blue Beetle and also fighting this guy. But it never went Power Rangers, which I appreciated. And boy, was that hard to do because it looks like it really would. And it went a little Spy Kids, but it never went full Spy Kids. I would never even say if it went 50% Spy Kids, which I really appreciated. As for the cast, director Soto said he felt that Cobra Kai's Xolo Mariduena was the only choice for Blue Beetle. And I gotta say, I agree. He's phenomenal. Many are saying this should be a star turn for Mariduena, and even if this movie totally bombs at the box office, I think his performance here is strong enough that he should still get work off of this. He's really, really good, and he is excellent leading man material. He does a lot to carry this film. I don't think it would be as good without him. I mean, you never say never. There's lots of talented people out there, and the tragedy of Hollywood and the business is that some of them will never be discovered. But Xolo Mariduena has that it factor for sure. Then there's Brazilian actress Bruna Marquezine. Is she dating Mariduena in real life? There are rumors. What do you think? But they definitely have chemistry together, and she's very good in the film as Ted Kord's daughter, Jenny. And she reminds me actually a lot of Jordana Brewster in the Fast and Furious movies. I was going to say, but a better actress, and I kind of just did. But Jordana Brewster wasn't bad, particularly early on in her career, and they just seem very similar to me, but in a good way. Susan Sarandon plays Jenny Kord's evil aunt and the head of Kord Industries, Victoria Kord. And I can't believe how evil they made this character and how far they go with her. I was like, wow! Like the first few scenes, Susan Sarandon was awful. I was like, whoa, this is so bad. I was getting Jamie Lee Curtis and Haunted Mansion vibes. I was like, oh no, not another one. But as the movie went on, she really committed to the villain role and did a great job. At first, I thought she was, the Wonder Woman, evil businesswoman, Kale. And the names sound similar too. But she also kind of reminded me of a female Lex Luthor. And you know who else she reminded me of? Speaking of Stranger Things, she was like Matthew Modine, where you have like this famous nostalgic actor who doesn't really work anymore, but like going full villain. And so I thought that was cool. By the end of the movie, I thought Susan Sarandon really delivered. The whole cast is quite good, though, and I think that really helps to sell the movie, the action, the humor, and the emotion. Even when it starts to get a little silly, the cast is so grounded and so skilled that they pull it back in. And they always believe in what they're doing. They never step out of it. They're never like, oh, this is so silly, we're making a Blue Beetle movie. Whatever, let's just get our paychecks. They're like, no, we're telling an important story. And you're like, you are. I know some of you don't like George Lopez and have taken issue with him in this film. But I don't know any of the George Lopez scandals or issues. I mean, I'm familiar with George Lopez's work for sure, but I thought he might not be great in this movie either. But he actually ended up being fantastic. I thought he brought a lot of comedic relief, and his character actually served a really important purpose to the story, both emotionally and also, in terms of moving things forward. Everybody would be lucky to have an Uncle Rudy. He's great. And shout out to Harvey Guillen, who has a small role here, but he makes an impression, and I was so happy to see him because he has been rocking it with voiceover work lately. This is the voice of Perito in Puss in Boots 2 and Nightwing in Harley Quinn. I mean, he's so talented, and so I'm really glad that he's getting more live action work. He's also on What We Do in the Shadows, which I don't watch, but I'm glad he's getting more live action work on camera. And he really, again, there are no small parts, just small actors, and he really made an impression. He's great. So do you need to see Blue Beetle in theaters? Well, if you don't want DC to totally implode, if you'd like to see Xolo Mariduena return as Blue Beetle, and if you'd like more strong Latino representation in Hollywood movies, then yeah, you kind of do need to see it in theaters. And it's a very professional quality superhero film. It's not like you're going to be making some kind of sacrifice here. This is good. It has a particularly good first act. It might lose you a little in the third act when it gets a little superhero-y and a little Spy Kids-like, but it will pull you back in by the end. I mean, really, unless you really hate superhero movies, this is good stuff. Now, if those are not your priorities, then no, you don't need to see this in theaters. I mean, again, it's a good movie. If you're not superheroed out, you will have a good time. I mean, if you just want to go to the movies this weekend, this is a great movie to go see. But if you don't want to see it in theaters for whatever reason, some of you have financial situations, some of you are busy, it's the end of summer, remember the movie. Remember it, because one night, be it on digital or later on streaming on Max, this movie will save your evening when you are desperately looking for something to watch and your dinner grows cold in front of you. Click on Blue Beetle. It will save your evening. Talk about being a superhero. I was surprised. And it's going to have to be a leap of faith, baby. I thought it was going to be lame. I thought at best it would be like Shazam, like a Latino Shazam. But it was really good. I mean, it's not, I don't want to oversell it. It's not like if I had to rank them, I guess it would go Spider-Verse is definitely better, the Spider-Verse movies. And then I thought Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a little bit more experimental, so I have to give that a slight edge. But this was right up there. If you liked Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I mean, who doesn't if you're into this kind of movie, you will definitely enjoy Blue Beetle. So that's my non-spoiler review of Blue Beetle hitting theaters this Friday. We'll see if anyone shows up. It's going to be an interesting movie, Math, for sure. Share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.